Alright, don't mind me, folks. I just started the stream and gonna give it a few seconds, a few minutes rather, for people to trickle in case you're watching the VOD. I need to go grab some more hardware before I can get started anyway, so I will be right back. Just a couple minutes. Software. We're getting software set up on this. I don't have the hardware to get the full TV out working yet, but check out the description. There's links. Talk amongst yourselves. I'll be there in a minute. That is buttons. Oh, I suppose I should also pull up the stream so I can monitor chat. That thing I often neglect. So we'll get started in just a minute. Bear with me. Please be patient. These. I'm not on data. I wouldn't fall for that twice. No. Thanks, Isaac. Okay, so what's going on is there was a tweet relatively recently, was it Thursday? Today's Sunday, so just a few days ago. And Victor, you are on time. I am just getting started, bud. Just getting started, bud. Okay, let me get... I have a thing here. I can actually... We can pull up the Twitter post and watch it together. Maybe. Yeah, there it goes. So what this is, someone recently teased on Twitter. Sorry, this phone's not the fastest and I accidentally click on things. They developed a hardware and software solution that work together with a DS console to enable TV Out on the device. And yeah, sure, TV Out's cool. But that's not the part I'm interested in. What I'm interested in is... Oh, come on. Gotta wait for that to load again. Anyway, if you scroll through the Twitter post, you can see there are a few other videos where this one in particular is what I want. Are you going to play for me? Maybe, maybe not. It's the phone, I swear. It's an old phone. Anyway, there are a few functions built into the hardware. There's buttons on the device. You can hit it to swap the screens around or enable picture-in-picture mode on the screen. And that's the part I'm interested in. TV Out is cool, yeah, don't get me wrong. But I want to see if we can't do picture-in-picture for a Game Boy Macro. I think that would be the bee's knees right there. So what we're starting with is just a Game Boy Macro. There are quite a few mods to this Nintendo DS Lite, but the only relevant one for this situation is that it has already been converted to a macro, which consists solely of me soldering that resistor right there. There aren't any speakers because I didn't bother wiring that up, and there's no charge port because I ended up using this thing for parts to fix another Game Boy or DS. Jeez. And otherwise it works. I just have to charge it through that port instead. But The reason I didn't make a video on this sooner is because they haven't actually released how they did this until a few hours ago. So if we look at the schematic, actually before we even get into the schematic, let's go ahead and take a look at the pictures. So this is one of the pictures that they released. It's cropped. The full picture is actually this thing here. But if we zoom in on that, you can see that those are the 3 buttons that they're using. And usually buttons like this are just pull down buttons. So one side is connected up to ground, the other side just goes to the ribbon. And we can see that here. We don't even need the schematic to see that these are just 3 lines going into the ribbon that then go into the Nintendo DS. So theoretically, we should be able to wire in those 3 buttons, get the software set up on the DS, and then have features like picture-in-picture and screen swapping. On Friday or Saturday, they released an image of the PCB without any components soldered to it. And from there, I can track and see that I was indeed right. Those 3 buttons do just run to the ribbon cable, which then runs to the DS and then into the CPU. And most recently, they released this schematic here, and we can verify that that is indeed exactly what's going on. P12, P10, and P11 are the buttons. But here's where it gets really confusing, at least for me. I don't know your background, and I'm talking to at least 30 different people, so maybe all have different backgrounds, but I have a really hard time looking at flat flex cable connectors schematics and then translating that to, okay, pin 1, which one is pin 1? Another problem that I can't get it straightened out in my head, because this is the other side. This is the schematic for the PCB that I don't have. So I need to figure out which pin on that PCB corresponds to which pin on mine. So I need to take the schematic pin numbers, flip it over, and then invert it before I get the right location, and then I have to count pins to, yeah. It was, I struggled with this for entirely too long, but I think I have it now. And I believe this is all we need. So what we need to do is we just need to wire up 3 buttons, 1 button to each of these vias, and then to ground. And then I'm going to go ahead and get the software set up on this DS, and we will see exactly how that'll work on a macro. Did they say when this will be released? Steven, this was released technically a few hours ago. They uploaded the PCB and everything to the GitHub repository. Check the notes, or check the description. You'll want this one, GitHub repository, github.com, Lost Nintendo History. Everything's in there. And the actual instructions is right here. One right above that, the Lost Nintendo History.github.io. Theoretically, that is everything you need. They have the PCB files that you can get PCBs made from, the bill of materials, you just have to solder that together, and then the list of the software suite list that you need to get set up on the DS. Anyway, that was a long-winded way of saying I'm gonna try some of that today. I can't test the TV out. I simply don't have the hardware, let alone the PCBs themselves. It is a pretty simple PCB. It's just taking the digital video data, converting it to analog composite signal. That's pretty much it. But anyway, the way the software is set up on the DS seems kind of convoluted to me, and I don't really like it. I also had a few questions that I didn't see answered yet, so I'm just gonna try it myself and see how far I can get. I don't like that you have to use Twilight menu on a flash card with that enable ROM. I want to see if there's a way we can do it without that. And if not now, hopefully there will be in the future. So anyway, let's go and get started. So like I said, this DS is quite modified. The case it's in is actually really messed up. It was a 3D printed faceplate, but I had to take it out of that because to install the Flash Me requirement, we physically need an X button, and there is no X button in the faceplate. So I had to take it apart, which was easier said than done because most of the screw posts are broken off and stuck in the shell. But we'll make it work. Anyway, like I said, this DS, I did start salvaging the charge controller portion of it. I could fix it, but it was easier to just do this at the time. But this should have no bearing on what we're doing today, but it does work. It'll boot up. It's mostly happy DS. All right. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started by wiring up these buttons, and then we'll hope for the best. So these are the 3 buttons that I'm going to use. Nice, clicky, tactile. And because I'm wiring up 2 vias, I actually don't want to use my preferred K-series tip. I should have swapped this out beforehand, but I wasn't thinking about it. Where are my tips? They're in here. Yeah, so if it were a kiosk thing, I mean, according to the repository, this is something that is baked into the SoC on the device. So this is a hardware feature of the CPU itself that has been disabled by the software installed in the device, which is why we need to install Flash Me, and then we can run a patch which re-enables it. There is something similar on the original DS, and I actually put a link in the description to when I built this, but it's similar in function, but fundamentally different. So how it works on the DS is that the DS hardware just runs the screen data to both screens and then just pulses each one, pulses the clock signal to each one depending on which set of data it should be displaying. So if you want to, for example, swap the screens like I do, I have the top screen right now, you just literally cut the data line and splice it in, and I have a switch installed so I can just click between the 2 screens. Very recently, as in like within the last week, that functionality has been ported in software to the DSi if you have custom firmware installed. But I want it on a DS Lite. So if we fire up a game here, and wait for it to boot, it's not the quickest thing. There it goes. So this, of course, isn't a macro, but you can make a DS macro. I forgot to grab it for the stream. I have one. It's in the other room. There's no batteries in it. But anyway, this is actually ported to the software. If you're running Twilight menu, you can just swap the screens by holding a hotkey. And so if you're running a macro, you can still access something on the other screen if you need to. But anyway, that's enough of that. let's get to this. But according to the people who have released this repository, this function does not exist on the DS, only on the DS Lite. And I will throw a link to this picture, assuming my pinout is correct. We want that via. I tinned too many vias, but that's okay. And I was going to try for enamel magnet wire, which I guess technically that's what this is. But this stuff is already pre-tinned. It's just wire that came with a Game Boy Advance IPS kit. Alright, instead of doing that, let's try this. Yeah, what I had in mind for this specific mod was this stuff, the single core, like, I don't remember if this is 32 gauge or what, but I just have the hardest time working with it. I can never get the tips tinned. Ooh, we're gonna have a hard time with this one because this one's not tinned. We'll worry about that when we get to the other side, though. Boom. That's that. Yeah, see, this is what I mean. This is the part I struggle with. Getting this stuff tinned. Though this wire in particular is actually really forgiving, so. I should look into getting a spool of it or something. My usual method is to just glob up a ball of solder on the tip and then stick the wire in the ball until the coating burns off. Solder starts sticking to the wire. I'm going to clean it up later. All right. Yeah, I think a hotter iron might be the key to getting these tinned. I usually run my iron at like 290 Celsius, which is probably why I struggle with tinning these so much. All right, anyway, that's that. I need a ground now. So maybe I will use that other wire. Let's bump the temp up and see. I'll put it up to 400. Yeah, I think I need to scrape this stuff. Oh, there it goes. So yeah, higher iron temperature, I guess, is the way to go. So we need a ground. Chances are pretty solid that this big, thick copper plane is ground. So let's double check that. Yep. Any one of these vias will be fine. That's not connected still, is it? No. That pad will work, but there's normally a component there. Oh, this is where the battery goes, so I suppose we want to try and avoid this area. Can use that pin on the switch. All these decisions, man. I'll use one of these. There's plenty of room right there. Now, in this particular instance, I am just using one of the pads where the battery connector is supposed to be, but I removed for another DS. There we go. Bigger the glob, the better the job. That's how it works when it comes to soldering, right? And with these switches, I am fairly confident that it's those legs. And then we just gotta, oh, come on. Yeah, okay. We just gotta wire two of those legs up. Alright, screw it. Check it in a minute. Oh, look at all that nice bare copper that melted off the enamel. Burned off, rather. Look smarter, not harder. I need more of that stripped. I haven't figured out how I'm going to do that. Just want to connect all of them up. Oh, you know what? Hang on. There's an easier way to do this, I bet. I'm going to grab that just like that. These are connected, aren't they? Yeah. So I'm going to take some more enamel wire. Just like that. And this one, wire it to this side. Maybe. There we go. Yeah, so setting the iron to a higher temperature definitely helps with magnet wear. Take this other arm off. One more. You can tell it's working when the wire gets too hot in your hand. But also when it comes out shiny. Alright, should be done with that. Jesus. There we go. Just like that. I'm gonna set my iron back and turn it off. Should be done. So if that is wired the way I believe it is wired, we should be able to just jam this somewhere. I'd like to be able to jam this so I can operate with one hand. Oh, all right, fine. Do a quick test. Perfect. Cool. Let's move on. So this console does not yet have Flash Me or anything like that installed. Why aren't you fitting? This used to fit. You know what? Hang on. I need to take a brief moment and remove these broken screw posts. Don't worry about don't worry about the charge module. That was not for. This doesn't provide any additional function In fact, it makes it less functional because now my console can't play and charge simultaneously. It is not a good mod. I just did it because this was a junk console and I wanted to use it for experimentation, and this was the quickest and easiest way to fix it. There we go. Ta-da! Forgot to put a game in it. Let's try with an actual game like Pokemon Pearl. I don't think this is going to do anything, but we'll try it anyway. Yeah. Nothing. Okay. Well, I don't have any of the software prerequisites that they said I need. I just don't like having to run Twilight Menu on a DS. I think that's pointless. So I am trying each step individually and seeing if we need to go that far. Does that just crash it? That probably just crashes it. Yeah, it's not even on. All right, so that was no Flash Me, no Twilight Menu. Let's try with Twilight Menu. Come on. This is why I don't like Twilight Menu. It takes freaking forever to navigate. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's great on DSi, just not on a DS. Alright, so this time it didn't just crash the console, so maybe Twilight Menu is a prerequisite for that. Let me try a DS game. Oh my goodness, whatever. Maybe. This was probably a bad game to test with. what I would like is a software patch that can be installed to the firmware of the device itself, so that this works with any game inserted and not just a flash cart after you run this. I want to be able to just boot it up and turn on the TV. Now, in theory, once that's loaded, we should not have to load a game. Let me wait till we actually get to something. Yeah. This isn't doing a whole lot of anything. So let's do Flash Me now. And here is where I am at an advantage compared to everyone else who might be installing Flash Me. My console has a battery hardwired to it. So assuming I can actually get it out of the casing. There we go. Here's why I had to take it apart, because you have to do X, B, X, B, and then it gets ready to flash, and then you have to flip the thing over, and we will short a cell 1 here with my tweezers. Oops, I think I just powered it off. Nope. I got lucky. You do not want to touch the potentiometer right next to a cell 1. %, okay. If you have speakers plugged in, you can hear the progress. It'll make a different beeping noise. Anyway, it is flashed. We can power it off, power it back on. They also said it has to be booted with AB start select, which I will have to actually reassemble this thing if we need to do that. Speaking of, let's try this. I don't think we're gonna get anything. Oh. Enable. And after all that, I could just have the wrong pins. It did take me a few tries to get where I am. Okay. Yeah, nothing. None of them. They don't do anything. Did I scroll right past it? I probably did. Yeah, games. Come on. I don't know if that Pokemon Black 2 ROM on the root of this thing is an actual game. I think that was something unrelated. Even though it says it's Pokemon Black, I don't think it is. Means bless you. Of course, there could be the problem that my console just doesn't freaking boot games. And I don't know why, because I don't have another screen plugged in. Well, that's frustrating. I think the next step is to do what Twilight Menu was complaining about and reformat my SD card with 32 KB clusters. Or maybe I just wait for them to publish more information on this project, which they should have done from the start, because this sort of information is highly suspicious given the timing of it. But, you know, it's just my opinion on it. Given that it requires modifying the hardware, and, well, that would make zero sense because this is the software stack that they say you're supposed to use. I don't understand why it would freeze because of the TV mode. It could just be freezing because it doesn't like my flash card, or it doesn't like my SD card, or whatever it is. Let's troubleshoot. I literally have the one flash card. That's it. Boot. I don't think this should interfere because it should be booting this in DS mode. But let's see if this can even boot games. Yeah, see, this is just getting stuck on a white screen. I mean, my 3DS is technically a stock shell. My 3DS is very modified. Yeah, I honestly think the problem here is Twilight Menu. I don't think... I don't think that the modifications that I have made... No, I don't want to delete that. How do you get into the settings of this? See, this is why I love Twilight Menu so much. Oh my god. I'm sure it's great on... Well, no, I'm not sure it's great. It is great on DSi and 3DS. It's just terrible on a DS. I don't understand the point of it on the original DS. There we go. try ARM7. Oh, that's GBA runner too. That's not gonna do shit. Yeah, there are no helpful settings. Unless NDS Bootstrap just isn't set up properly. Which is entirely possible. But we wouldn't need NDS Bootstrap if we didn't have to use Twilight Menu. Come on. All right. Let me put this thing together somewhat so that I can stop dealing with this. And then we'll move on and do more troubleshooting while I'm thinking about what else we can possibly try. Unless someone has more ideas. Look, don't get me wrong. Twilight Menu is a wonderful piece of software on the 3DS and the DSi. I love it. It's great. On the DS, it doesn't have any reason to exist. Do you like my SL1 tool? It's literally just a little loop of solder with some heat shrink. That's how I installed FlashMe on my other DS Lite. Oh, this shoulder button's gonna be all sorts of fucked. Alright. And look at that. It goes together like it was made to go together. Because it was. broken screw posts. Ozzy, you're fired. You're not allowed to be late. 0 tolerance. I'll even put the little rubber thingies back in. And then you won't even be able to tell that it's ever been taken apart. Okay, that works surprisingly well, all things considered. All right. Oh God, that button feels terrible. I hope it actually works. It does not. Nice. Oh, dear, 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 dear. This is what's so nice about live streams, is that I can't just cut this. Hazi, I'm sorry. You missed the earlier parts of the stream. You're going to have to go watch. You're just going to have to rewind now because I'm just going to delete this tomorrow anyway, like usual. So if you don't watch it now, you'll never watch it. Shoulder buttons. Okay. It helps if the membrane is actually into in the correct position. Get over there. There we go. Wow, just like last time, it just snaps together. Because that's the wrong screwdriver. All right, let's try it out again. It actually feels like it should. Picto chat, and yeah, cool. Cool, cool, cool. All right, before carrying on, let's try. Oh, there goes one of my lights. Don't worry, all is well. I got distracted because my phone went off. But I have a regular DS light with the exact same modifications, except that it is not a macro. Twilight menu. Should be in macro mode now. And just for shits and giggles, let's wait for it to load. Go up one more. See, in theory, oh, you know what? Let's try. Recovery. Just in case, because they did say you have to do that. Or not. Now it's just blinking. Yeah, it doesn't seem to want to boot that way. It should. I don't know why it's not. You know what? I do believe this is broken and not going to work. I don't know why. Flash me, flash fine. You can see there's no health and safety. Twilight menu. Enable TV out. It should reboot to Twilight menu. I think it does have to be booted through Twilight menu with how Twilight menu boots games. Because this is a, I understand that it is a runtime patch, in that this patch is not actually written to, I think that is a regular Soul Silver. This patch is not actually written to the firmware itself, it's just running in memory. What the hell button did I just hit? Not the right one. So we just, first last says, so we just enabled NDS TV Out without flashing Flash Me and just use Twilight menu. No, you have to use, according to the documentation, you have to use Flash Me, then use Twilight menu. But I am clearly not having any luck. I can't even get it to boot games in Twilight menu. Now, I've never had this working. I don't know how this is supposed to work. I've always just used the flash cart menu. On the DS because that was so much quicker than fussing around with Twilight menu. Twilight menu, flash card. So I see there's this loader in Twilight menu files. Do I have to use... It should just be able to find that, right? I mean, it should detect which card I'm using. Oh my goodness. Okay. Bear with me. I need to do something apparently. Or not. Apparently this is for setting it up on... Yeah, I have no idea. To the root of your... Ah, ha, ha. See, that's what I was asking about. Okay. I'm so glad they put that in an easy to find place. Let's try that. I should test to see if that booted first. Yeah, see, Mizuo, you saw though, Flash Me wasn't auto-booting my flash card, which it should. It's how I flashed this thing in the first place because I accidentally turned it off after it hit 2%. So, yeah, I don't know. I'm just not having any luck. But I know the website says to boot it that way, and now of course this is getting stuck here. If anyone else gets this working, please help me out because I'm at a loss here. There, now that is running. Go back into games. Gee, Mortimer, if only there were a useful documentation on this Flash Me stuff. I don't know if I flashed the wrong stuff because there's no documentation on this. The website domain expired in 2006. What the hell was I looking for? Yeah, still nothing, just white screen. Yeah, ROM works fine. It's Twilight menu. To be clear, the reason I'm complaining is because they being the Nintendo History something, whatever they're calling it, Lost Nintendo History, that team has released very minimal documentation and it's taken them 4 days to do it. And so now that I'm finally trying it, I can't figure it out. Their documentation is still terrible. And I'm upset about that because of the nature of the exploit that they are talking about. You know, it could just be my flash cart because it's not loading the it's not loading off the SD right now. I won't be able to run any of this. And that's what's so frustrating because I don't know what the problem is. It's not auto booting because I don't have auto boot enabled, to whoever was mentioning that. Yep. It's done. I'm done. Auto. There, now it auto boots. Let me set up auto boot on Twilight menu too. Shoot. What's it called? I thought it was just boot.nds. Oh no. It came menu for yes. Let's try that. Should boot straight into Twilight. Oh, look, system file is missing. Cute. Now it doesn't do that. Yeah, I think if anyone is actually interested in this project, wait for better software support. Because, damn. Try that. So my understanding of how this works, Brad, is that, oh, there we go. Now it's auto booting Twilight. Is that you need Flash Me on your console because that disables SIG patches or SIG checks. And with SIG checks disabled, then you can run the patch that disables Nintendo's patch to disable the hardware in the SoC. And then once that's running in memory, you can boot with Twilight menu because that will keep the patch running in memory. I don't know. I have a very not complete understanding of how this works. That's all GBA Runner 2 stuff. So should B4DS be on or off? I'm going to assume yes, because I thought that's how Twilight menu worked on a flash card. Yeah, the whole point of Flash Me is that you can boot flash card. You can boot signed code from devices that don't have spoofs. This was a thing back in 2005 before they figured out the modern style of flashcards. This is why all the documentation is 15 years old, because people stopped using it when better flashcards came out. Oh, I think I was already where I need to be. I have the required flash cart load. I think I have the required flash cart loader files though, so let me try that. Okay, I guess L doesn't work. I highly recommend doing flash me before converting it to a macro, because if you have one of the wonderfully designed and well thought out macro, you still need an X button. Sorry guys, I know this is not a very engaging stream, especially because I am so frustrated right now. I should have tried booting the game first. Okay, there's that. Try booting the game, and then we can try on the other DS. Hopefully it works, and then we can try on the other DS. Don't want to jinx it. Yeah, see, Brad, what I'd like to see is a patch that actually installs into the firmware of the device like FlashMe. I would like to use that instead of FlashMe, ideally, but I don't mind if it's in addition to FlashMe. Because I would like to be able to just plug any cart into this thing and boot my actual physical games, not just the flash cart. You know, I do have DS games. It's a shame because I can't even test the hardware that I set up for this with this nonsense not working. I mean, we could just let it sit. Maybe my first experiences with Twilight Menu on the DSi were literally you boot it, wait 40 seconds, and then the console boots, and then you can navigate through the menu. That'll take you another minute and a half. And then you boot the game, you wait 2 minutes. The earlier versions actually had Pong that you could play on the load screen because it just took so frickin' long to load. Now it's reasonable on the DSi, rather. Maybe it's just this slow on the DS, I don't know. Devin, I don't know if you realize what you just said, but I really hope you didn't mean what that sounds like it means. Significantly smaller game to boot. Let's try. You know what? Let's try. I have Homebrew. Try that. What the hell is this on? Oh, Jesus Christ, are you kidding me? Is that really it? Hang on. If this... Sorry. Bear with me. No, it's there. It's there. Yes, there is an NDS file on there. And yes, it has NDS Bootstrap. The release from the 15th. What the hell's my flash card? Oh. I think it just auto hides that folder. Well, that boots. So maybe it was working and I'm just not being patient enough. Let's try this one. I like to test with Pokemon Pearl because, you know, it's a game that I actually have and dumped and know works. And I have it on my DSi and it works perfectly fine over there. But my buttons do nothing. I think we need to wait until there's more documentation on this. Because I can't get this working. Let me try one more thing. Well, that works. That wasn't working before. I don't know why my buttons would do anything. Well, it sort of works. Yeah, I don't know. I genuinely think the problem is Twilight Menu or my flash cart or some compatibility issue with Twilight Menu on my flash cart. I don't know. maybe it's some weird firmware issue because my flash cart is actually on a super old version of the Ace card firmware. For the sole reason of I like seeing the Ace card icon in the menu instead of whatever the hell they updated it to, since all of my consoles can run it anyway. That. But I don't know. Yeah, Brad, that was my concern too. I was genuinely concerned that Nintendo would put out a cease and desist before all the information got out there. So I was hoping that the information they released would be enough to get this working, and I can't get it working. I don't know. I think my problem is just that my Twilight menu is not set up properly, and since there is zero instructions both from the Twilight menu devs and from the Nintendo restoring Nintendo history, whatever they are, from those devs, then I don't know. I'm SOL unless someone has some advice here. I'll have to wait until they get better documentation. I also hate how their GitHub is set up, but that's just me. There's nothing explicitly wrong with it. Install FlashMe custom firmware. We did that. Connect the Nintendo DS Lite upper screen flex to the PCB board. We did not do that, but that board does three things. One, it provides an interface for these buttons, which I've already added. Two, it allows the DS to boot without the top screen, which I've also already done. And three, it takes the video output from the top screen and does analog to digital conversion, so you can use a composite output on it. I did not do that, but that should be unnecessary for this to work. Download the NDS TV Out enable. We did that. Download Twilight menu. We did that. Copy both NDS TV Out enable and Twilight menu NDS files to the flash cart. We did that. Use FlashMe to auto boot into the flash cart. You can do this by pressing AB start select while booting. Run Twilight menu, and from there run the enabler homebrew. The console will return to Twilight menu. Now you can use the buttons on the board to swap between the different screen modes. You know what? That's a dumb thing. We should have tried it. According to this, it doesn't even have to boot into a game to do that. We also need to have the flash cart in the console for it to boot off the flash cart. It auto boots. I don't see the problem. I'm going to be very upset if the problem is that this enable NDS TV out mode needs to be patched into every single game that you want to run. And that's why it hasn't been working. Nope, that's not it either. That or my pinout's wrong. I really don't think it is, but it could be. If anyone wants to double check that for me, hang on. Let's quickly run through this. Yeah, nothing. If anyone wants to double check that for me, here is my wiring once again. I used these three vias on the bottom of the DS. So here is the shoulder button right here. I use the one circled in red. Fairly certain that's this is just a junk board that I have for playing with here. Get the lighting back. I used this one, I believe. Or was it this one? It's one of these. This one. That's the one I used. So it is one pin over from the dot right above P3. That is the pin I thought it was. 21, 22, 23. See, that's what I tried. This is 44. So, good lord, this thing's gross and dirty. 44 is right now 42, 40, 38, 36, 34, 32, 30, 28, 26, 24, 22. So yep, I was using pin 22, and then the other two pins flanking it on the other side. That's what I thought it was. If I'm wrong, someone please let me know. But that's what I came to independently. That's what Hazy thought it was, apparently. You can't go by the documentation that they released because the pinout on the connector is completely different. It's backwards. You basically gotta do this. It's more or less that. Might have to be flipped over too. Yeah, see, that's what I counted too. 25, 24, 23, but you have to flip it over. It's confusing. You missed my rant earlier. But what I did was I just found LED C2 and LED A2 on this connector, and then counted pins from there. So from LED A2 on pin 8, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 to P11, which goes to the button. So I found LED A2, which is down here somewhere, right there, and then I just counted 8 up. But I don't know. It's not going. It's not doing. I don't see why we would need that top screen unless this is just some large hoax. And at this point I would not be surprised, but there's nothing. Not from that button. Not from that button. Not from that button. And just gonna double check my grounds real quick, if I can. Yep, the ground is still good. I have to assume the other wires are still good because they're not coming off. Nothing. I don't know. I'll have to play with it more or wait for more documentation from them. Sorry guys. I guess I'm not as smart as I thought I was. So the switch is literally, you see on the connector it goes P12, P10, and P11. Well, here is P11. It goes to switch, it goes to ground. That's it. It's super simple. I can't imagine that this console is looking for something detected on the output side, because the PCB should be sending zero feedback other than these three buttons and maybe some power usage. Unless for some reason, and I didn't check this, you know what, we can check it right now. Unless for some reason we need a different resistor on the LED C2 and A2. That goes to LED C2 and LED A2. It literally just has a 1,000 ohm resistor across it, so exactly the same as I already did. I'm not gonna... I could grab a board. I don't want to, though. The whole point of this project, the whole point of me trying this was to get the screen switching and picture-in-picture mode to work on a DS that is not tethered to a TV. But I don't know. Anyway, I think at this point I'm going to end the stream because I'm repeating myself and getting frustrated with this, and I don't think I'm going to get anywhere. So, thanks guys. Thanks very much for watching. Sorry I couldn't actually get this working because that would have been super cool. But if anyone watching the VOD later notices somewhere where I messed up, please let me know. Shoot me a comment, shoot me a DM, something. Otherwise, I'm going to keep an eye out for updates to that repository. You don't have to ping me. I will be keeping an eye on it, trust me. And if something else comes out, I'll shoot an update or something and add it to my video. Probably not a stream, but here we are. Thanks for watching, guys. Have an excellent day. Oh, and I will try my very bestest not to delete this stream too. But no promises.